His name is Curt, a really funny guy, and this is his podcast, In the Wry. It's the In the Wry Podcast. Curt Fletcher.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in the Wry Podcast, episode 64 with Curt Fletcher. I'm your host, Curt Fletcher. Let's see what we could talk about this week. Talk about some shows I got coming up. Talk about one-liners, some of my favorite one-liner comedians. Talk about some family tree stuff. I like working on family trees and things like that. Found out that I'm related to one of my favorite football players of all time. I'll talk about that a little bit. I'm also related to a comedian that I know, that I've known for a long time, that I haven't seen in probably over a decade. And then that's probably it. I don't have a lot of time. My nephew's going to come over and be annoying. So I got some shows coming up. They're scrolling at the bottom of the screen there. You can see that. They're scrolling by. You see that? It's pretty cool. So next week, February 17th and 18th, I will be at Hyenas Comedy Club in Fort Worth, Texas, which is one of my favorite comedy clubs in the country that I've been to anyway. I haven't been to a lot of awesome clubs, but I'll be working with my good friend Tim Gaither. Hyenas is a great club. The audiences are always awesome. It's a cool part of Fort Worth, too. It's right downtown. The downtown's really cool, especially compared to Albuquerque's downtown. And I don't know, there's a lot of cool stuff to do. There's a lot of restaurants, things like that, free parking. Just a cool spot, you know. There's always a lot of things going on. So super excited to get out to Fort Worth. I didn't go last year, so it'll be nice. One of my best friends lives out there too, so I got to hang with him for a few days. So I'm going to go out there and hang out. Then I fly back home on the 19th, and this is why I want to talk about one-liners. We're doing a contest that night at the launch pad in Albuquerque called One-Liner Madness. It's a bracket of 64 comedians, and we're all telling one-liners, and I mean, it's like a bracket, you know. You get the first round's going to have 64 comics, second round 32, and then, you know, how a normal bracket works. And as a fan of one-liners, I'm excited about that because not just to perform, but to watch. You know, I've always been a fan of one-liner comics and just great one-liners. And I'll talk about that in a second. And then I have a show. I'm headlining at Dry Heat Comedy Club in Albuquerque on the 24th. You can get tickets for that on my website, funnyfletcher.com. It has ticket links for all the other shows too. If you want to come to the One-Liner Madness, tickets to Hyenas, things like that. And then February 25th, I'll be at Unhinged Brewery, which I have no idea where it's at, but it's in Albuquerque somewhere, and I've never been there, so it should be fun. Let's talk about one-liners for a bit. One-liners, it's definitely not easy for everybody to write one-liners. When I started out, I wasn't sure what my style was going to be, and I figured it out pretty quick. My first show I did pretty well. I got a lot of big laughs and stuff like that, but I was kind of like my jokes were longer, and I felt like it was taking too long to get to the punchline. So I was like, well, what if I just cut out a bunch of shit and just take this part out and just do this funny part, you know? And so I did that with all my jokes, even though there were some funny parts that I cut out, but I just wanted to get, less words, more laughs. So that was kind of how I did it. And Stephen Wright was a big influence of mine, and I started out First time I ever saw him was like when I was 12 or 13. He was on the Tonight Show or something like that. And I loved his style. And I didn't really like copy his style, but I definitely wanted to do what he was doing. So once I figured that out, I was like, all right, I'm going to try to write jokes like he wrote jokes. And so that's kind of where it started. And then a couple of years into my career, I started getting hosting gigs at Laughs. And this other comic started doing comedy about a year or two after me. So Mark Shooter, he started a comedy a couple years after me or a year after me, and he was doing a similar style. So me and him ended up being writing partners, and I always loved writing with him because we both did one-liners or shorter jokes, and there was nobody else in the scene really doing that. I mean, there weren't many comics in the scene anyway, but there weren't many in the scene. It was just me and him doing one-liners. So when we got together to write, we would, go over the stuff we had written, give critiques on it and stuff like that. And then I kind of came up with this formula. I was like, well, what if I just write setup lines for you? You write setup lines for me. And then we had to write a punchline for every single one of them, even if it wasn't that funny. And so we did that every time we'd get together to write. And that's kind of how it went for a long time. I don't know how many years we did that, but I'll give an example. Like, so whoever wrote the punchline gets the joke, obviously. So if you write the punchline, it's your joke, even if I wrote the setup. I'll give an example of one of the jokes that we wrote like that. My setup line for him, like we would always write somewhere, like we'd go to like Village Inn or Borders bookstore or whatever. So a lot of times the setup lines would be based on something that was around us. You know what I mean? Like if we're at Borders one day, like we're like, a lot of the setup lines are about Celine Dion because her autobiography is right there, something like that. And neither one of us wrote a really good Celine Dion joke, which I'm sad to say. There aren't a lot of good Celine Dion jokes out there, I don't think. Anyway, one of the setup lines I wrote for him one day was, we were at Village Inn, and I just remember seeing the occupant load sign, whatever it was. And so my setup line was, I recently hooked up with this chick who had a tattoo above her vagina that said occupant load 3. And his punchline for that was, and that's not even the weird part, the fire marshal signed it, which is a great one-liner. And so we did that a lot. And that's how I wrote a lot of my material back in the day, was just doing that, and I don't know how many jokes that I used on my first album, or jokes I don't even do anymore or thrown away over the years, were written in that formula with Mark. I've tried doing it with other comics over the years, and like it's different, like especially if they're not really a one-liner comic, it's difficult to I don't know, it's difficult to feed off of them, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, we wrote some really good stuff. We even wrote a movie script together, and pretty damn funny. I was thinking about some great one-liner comics. Obviously Stephen Wright is my favorite. Mitch Hedberg is one of the best. Dangerfield, you do 200 one-liners. I don't remember what his record was. Someone and I was talking about that like years ago at the Comedy Works. Like how many jokes he would do like in a 45-minute set or something like that. I've done some sets where I go to like an open mic or something like that, and I'll do, if I'm doing a 4 or 5 minute set, I'll just try and do as many one-liners as I can in that time. And I think the last time I did that, I did a 5-minute set. I think I did 37 one-liners, something like that. A lot of times I won't pause for the laugh because I just want to see how many I can get in the 5 minutes. But yeah, there's always been some really good one-liner writers over the years. Norm Macdonald always said, like, he was a great storyteller, comic, and But he also had some really good one-liners, like when he was doing Weekend Update and when he did a show on Netflix and stuff like that. And Nick Thune is a guy who has some great one-liners. Zach Galifianakis, of course. Jesselnick has some solid ones. With it, Jimmy Carr, I think. Yeah, Jimmy Carr. Joan Rivers. There's some people that you might not have heard of that aren't really mainstream, like Zach Reinert from Denver, great writer. Rena Calm from Chicago has some really clever stuff. I really like this kid I think he's from Kansas City. I don't know where he lives now, but Aaron Naylor, he's got some really, really good one-liners. I'm probably forgetting a bunch of people, but yeah, if you like one-liner comedy, check those guys out. I'm actually recording a one-liner album soon. Not sure when. It'd be kind of cool to release it on the day of the one-liner contest. Yeah, I've got about 110 one-liners that I like that I'm gonna record. I don't know if I'll do it with a live crowd or not. I might just do it, record it on my computer, and then edit some music or something in the background, or I don't know, play Dark Side of the Moon in the background. No, I'd probably get in trouble for that. So yeah, if you like one-liners and you're in Albuquerque or the area, come to that show for sure, February 19th at the Launchpad. I'm super excited. I hope my flight doesn't get delayed or anything like that. So I would hate to miss that show, but couldn't turn down an opportunity to perform in Fort Worth. Yeah, at Hyenas, So pretty excited. Should be fun. But yeah, I've been working on a lot of new stuff, so I'm excited to try that out in Fort Worth and try it out on the 24th and 25th in Albuquerque too. Trying to get enough material to record another new album this year. I was thinking about calling it Straight Out the Cornfield. Sound like a hip hop album. And the people at Dry Heat Comedy Club, Kelly and Sarah, they had this poster made for me, and I need to ask them the artist name because the artist did a really good job. It's a really cool poster, and I was thinking I could probably use that for my album cover if I call it Straight Out the Cornfield because it's cool. I'll show it on the screen here. Like Field of Dreams based, because I grew up in Iowa, and I don't know. It's a cool poster, and I just changed my profile picture on Facebook to it, so it's probably getting a ton of likes right now. I don't know. I haven't really logged in, so man, I wrote down some of my favorite one-liners that I've heard recently. This one I saw I think it was on TikTok, maybe. I don't know who the guy saying it was, but it wasn't a comedian, I don't think. But the joke is my penis was in the Guinness Book of World Records, and then the librarian made me take it out. That's one of the funniest one-liners I've ever heard. That's the thing about one-liners, like, you gotta have like a surprise. I guess every joke's like that, not just one-liners, but I feel like just I don't know, one-liners are better for that. That's it's kind of like a magic trick, I think I've heard some comedians say that it's like a magic trick. You just don't see it coming. Those are the best jokes. And this one, I don't even know if it was like a stand-up comedian doing that. I think it was, maybe, actually, or maybe it was like a tweet I saw. It was pretty funny. It always stuck with me over the years. So you try to give someone a sincere compliment about their mustache, and suddenly she's not your friend anymore. And that's funny because you think he's talking about a dude, and he's not. It's a lady with a mustache. Speaking of ladies with mustaches, I was doing some family tree history recently, yesterday. And this actually has nothing to do with ladies with mustaches. I just thought that'd be a funny transition that would pay off, and it didn't. But I was doing some family tree stuff. Me and my mom do that a lot, and my sister. And so my mom was looking up this, I guess it was her grandma's side of the family, I want to say. I don't even remember. But she found some new names in the family tree, and one of the ladies in the family tree, she was accused of being a witch back in the Salem witch trial days. So I thought that was kind of cool. And then one of the names on there was Moulton, Moulton, and there was a comedian named Colin Moulton that used to come to Laughs all the time, and I always really liked him. He was always really funny. He was one of my favorites when he came to town. So I always tried to make it down to see him, and I'm friends with him on Facebook. I probably haven't talked to him in over a decade, at least, and he probably doesn't even know who I am. But I decided to see if I could find any trace to him being related to those Moultons, and I found an obituary on his dad. So I was looking up his dad, and I found out that his dad, or his dad's granddad, was actually from the same town in New Hampshire that my Moulton family was from. So I was able to trace back that I'm related to Colin Moulton, which is pretty cool. I haven't told him that because I don't know if he'd care or not. I think it's kind of cool because I like Colin. He's really funny. It's got a dry bar special that's really awesome. So that's cool. And then another one. So this is kind of cool. I thought anyway. So I traced that I am also related to the Clark family from Livermore, Iowa, which is like Dallas Clark, who played for Iowa, played for the Colts and a couple other teams in the NFL. He's always one of my favorite players at Iowa and in the NFL. One of my friends was good friends with him. I actually got to meet him once before he was even good at football, really. I mean, he was always good at football, but he wasn't he had switched to tight end like at Iowa. He was a linebacker at first. That's when I met him. He was like just a walk-on linebacker. So my friend was coaching his former high school's baseball team, and I was keeping stats in the dugout, and he came and sat in there and got to chat with him a little bit and stuff. And he's a nice dude. I always rooted for him. And then after the Colts won the Super Bowl, I met his dad. We were up in Iowa for my grandpa's funeral, and went to the community tap, in Fort Dodge, which is a great spot for pizza, beers, and stuff. And my buddy that was the baseball coach, he knew Dallas's dad really well, so he happened to come in. His name's Doug Clark. He came in while we're all sitting there hanging out, and it's kind of cool because it was like a week after that the Colts won the Super Bowl, and Dallas was actually on TV at the time. Iowa was playing I think Northwestern basketball or something, and they were interviewing Dallas at halftime, and then Doug came in, and so we were talking to him. He was showing us pictures from the Super Bowl. He's hanging out with Jerry Rice and Emmitt Smith, and he showed us pictures of Peyton Manning's Super Bowl, like his hotel room at the Super Bowl. It was crazy. So it was this huge room, and it was like this big buffet of food, and like Peyton Manning sitting there, Dallas Clark sitting there, and then Kenny Chesney sitting there playing his guitar, and he said it was just insane. You got to meet some of his favorite NASCAR drivers and things like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. I traced that back. I've always had fun working on like family trees and things like that, and find out where my family's from and things. like my mom's side of the family, there was a castle, like my family owned a castle like in England somewhere. I think it'd be cool someday to go visit that castle. I even heard it was haunted, which is even cooler. I don't know if it's true or not, but oh man. Anyway, yeah. If you have any interest in making a family tree, hit me up. I can help you out. Me and my sister and my mom actually have a business where we do that. And it's pretty fun. It's kind of time consuming and stuff, but it's pretty interesting to uh, trace people's roots back and stuff like that and see how far we can go back. That's always pretty cool. That's gonna be it for this week. My nephew's here, and I'm gonna go hang out with him. But check out a show if you want. I got some coming up in February. Don't have anything in March, so hit me up. Also check out my new podcast. If you like college wrestling, check out Stop Stalling Podcasts. Me and my buddy Tim Gaither do that every week. Talk about college wrestling. We got our first hater the other day, so that's pretty exciting. Some douchebag. So that's it for now. Go check out funnyfletcher.com. Check out my schedule. Buy some tickets. Come to a show. Hope to see you out there, everybody. And as always, thanks to Jarrett Reddick for intro music, John Singleton from Anesthesia for outro music. And I'm actually going to have a guest on soon. I'm going to interview Albuquerque comedian Jake Otero. So that'll be coming out, I don't know when, because I haven't talked to him yet. But it'll be soon. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.